I'm truly honored to introduce our next speaker, United States Representative Nick Rahall of Beckley, West Virginia. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of West Virginia. First elected in 1976, he is currently serving his 17th term and is the Dean of the West Virginia Delegation of the House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, Congressman Rahall is the chairman of the Committee on Resources and is a vice chairman on the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Please give a warm welcome to Nick Rahall.
Thank you very much, Frank. I want to commend you and all of the staff at Rahall Transportation Institute and join as we send out our thoughts and prayers to the family of Senator Robert Plymel, the director of RTI, and we certainly know the tremendous work that he does. To all of you that have traveled to be here today, I thank you, and I'm pleased to join you, and I commend each one that has worked so hard to put this conference together, including all of the sponsors. I want to welcome our Secretary of Transportation, longtime dear friend of mine, Ray LaHood, for being here today, taking the time out of his busy schedule, especially at this particular time in our nation's history, to be with us. And our senior senator, Jay Rockefeller, a friend to all of us, a gentleman who has served us over his entire career here in the state of West Virginia, served us with dignity and respect and dedication to the people of our great state. Earlier this year, I thought it was interesting to note that two Washington, rather strange, I should say, strange Washington bedfellows, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO, came together after President Obama's State of the Union address, and they said together in a joint statement, and I quote, "Whether it is building roads, bridges, high-speed broadband, energy systems, or schools, these projects not only create jobs and demand for businesses, they are also investments in building the modern infrastructure our country needs to compete in a global economy." I could not agree with them more. And I'm sure my colleague across the aisle, who serves with me on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and who represents this congressional district, Shelley Moore Capito, would fully agree with that statement as well. Despite all the heated rhetoric in Washington today, as one side tries to outdo the other in demonstrating their commitment to cutting the budget and being good stewards of the public's dime, such unlikely alliances are forming. They are forming because many agree that a strong, healthy, vibrant, and consistent federal investment in our nation's infrastructure will create American jobs and keep our economy moving throughout the 21st century. Without a doubt, the surest pathways to opportunity and successes are America's railways, roadways, and runways. Transportation has always been a top priority of mine and each of us in this room. The T&I Committee was the first committee assignment I sought when I was elected to Congress 35 years ago. And when I went to Washington as a freshman member of the House, I was honored to have received my first choice, which was a committee called back then the Public Works Committee. And I've been on this committee every year that I've been in the Congress, and I have enjoyed the work. I was especially proud and humbled earlier this year when my colleagues elected me to serve as the top Democrat on this committee. Today, as we all know, the transportation sector accounts for 11% of our gross domestic product, approximately $1.1 trillion annually, and supports 1 in 8 jobs. Congress has long recognized the critical link between transportation investments and economic development. We all know that for every $1 billion invested in transportation infrastructure, we create and sustain 36,000 good-paying jobs and generate $6.2 billion to our economy and economic activity. Simply put, these are investments in America's future that create and expand opportunity for our people. Spurring economic growth, getting more people on payrolls also keeps more people out of the safety net programs like Medicaid, while generating revenues to cut the deficits and eliminates debt. It is a cost-saving measure. Most importantly, a strong, robust transportation system also helps to ensure that America continues to be a good place in which to do business. Despite the significant investments that have been made to date, we all know that America's infrastructure is crumbling and it's outdated. And in many cases, it's a disaster waiting to happen. It poses an increasingly threat to our global economic competitiveness as well. Arteries of commerce are clogged with congestion, resulting in billions of hours wasted, and billions of dollars, and billions of gallons of fuel needlessly spent, just throwing money down the drain for our families and our businesses. People and products are trapped on tarmacs because we are using radar technology that harkens back to an era when disco was king. Amtrak is sharing the track with freight and cargo while the development of high-speed rail in other countries passes us by. Our keynote speaker this morning is Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, has served on Transportation Committee in the Congress, and he knows of which I speak. We have the technology to order a pizza online, for example, but trucks have to wait in line at marine ports because we don't use a high-tech scheduling system for picking up cargo. And too many of the bridges that link communities together are structurally unsound, creating additional barriers for local trade. Despite these tremendous backlogged needs, the budget that the new leadership in the House of Representatives passed a few weeks ago proposes to cut $318 billion in federal transportation investments from current levels over the next decade. This means cuts in highways, highway safety and transit by about one-third less bridge repair, one-third less safety improvement, one-third less bus service. We know what our competitors on the world scene are doing. We know that China spends 9% of their GDP per year on infrastructure. India spends 5%. And what does our country spend? Only 1.9% of its GDP per year on infrastructure. So we have to outbuild. We have to out-infrastructure. We have to out-compete. We have to outdo our competitors on the world scene. It's not our neighboring state or our neighboring county, but it's the countries that we compete with. Massive infrastructure investments are being done worldwide. And instead, we are not keeping pace. And we need to keep pace and extend our lead in the global economy. We must invest more, not less. In our T&I committee, under the capable leadership of Chairman John Mica, we've had listening hearings around the country. We've heard what the needs are in many congressional districts, including those districts represented by newly elected members of Congress last year. And we kicked off those hearings in my hometown of Beckley, West Virginia. Then we came here with Representative Capito in Charleston, West Virginia. And one theme that we heard over and over in every one of these hearings across the country was the concerns about the tremendous uncertainty that is created for state and local communities when Congress fails to enact a multi-year bill that is large enough to adequately tackle the well-documented backlog of transportation and infrastructure needs. Transportation policy is one area where Congress, we usually tend to come together for the common good. And I'm optimistic we can still do that and do it this year. At the end of the day, planes, trains, and automobiles are not partisan priorities. They are the very lifelines of America's economy. We know that the last bill, SAFE-T-LU, received 96% support in the House of Representatives and 89% support in the Senate. The one before that, T-21, passed the House with nearly 80% of the members supporting it, and the Senate approving it by unanimous consent. So it's in this bipartisan spirit that I conclude my comments this morning, and that I hope the Congress can come together once again to craft a multi-year surface transportation bill that will give the states, the Indian tribes, our local communities, contractors, those responsible for putting the people to work, a predictable environment in which to bid, break ground, and build. That is the task before us this year, and with your support and with those from around the country that share our concerns, contacting their members of the legislative bodies, we can get this done. and we can get it done in a bipartisan spirit. Again, I salute and congratulate each of you for being here this morning. Keep up the good work, and let's let the dirt fly.
Thank you, Congressman Rahall.